So I have to admit, I was sleeping on Pokemon Pokopia just based off of the game keycard situation with the game and how it looked and not much information at the beginning, but the more that they've shown about Pokemon Pokopia, the better it's looking, and it's actually opened my eyes to quite a vast amount of people that could be potentially picking up this game, with a lot of them not even having a Nintendo Switch 2 yet. So when you start looking at a game that could have some type of big social movement or big fan base that is there but hasn't quite picked up something, that's when you know that this could turn into a system selling type of game. And that's why I think that Pokemon Pokopia could be a huge system seller for the Nintendo Switch 2. We're going to get into all of the reasons here, in addition to a bunch of great updates with the game that make this game a lot better than what I thought it was going to be, with the multiplayer, with some of the aspects with the game, and so much more. But before we continue on, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2. All you have to do to enter is hit that subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed, and drop a comment below. We are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 once we hit 150,000 subscribers, and it will be random. So the more that you actually comment and interact, the better chance that you have to win. Hit that like button, click that notification bell, and let's go ahead and jump right back into it. Now, one of the most exciting things for gamers is this Cloud Island multiplayer that Pokemon Pokopia is touting from the game developers. Now, this one's a bit different because usually with most of Nintendo's games, like let's just say Animal Crossing or most titles out there, you have to go online, and then in order for people to go to your island, that person has to be online. If that person isn't online, then you're not going to be able to go to their island and hang out and do different things. But in this game, it's a bit like Minecraft, to where there is a cloud island. So the host person doesn't actually need to be online if they have the option enabled for people to have multiplayer. That person doesn't have to be online in order for people to go in there and play. So if you have people that are in different time zones, or you just simply can't play together, this is an ideal feature. So according to the devs, you'll be able to visit a host player's main island or develop a blank one separate from the main story. So that is also really good, so you don't have to worry about maybe people messing up your island or having to say, okay, well, if I'm going to do multiplayer, it's going to be on this island. You can just have a completely separate one that's blank, and people can go in there if you want. Now, this second space is one where players can work together to build whatever they see fit. But the best part about it is that even if the host island owner isn't playing, everyone can join in and play. This is along the lines of the Minecraft private persistent servers. Now, no matter what's happening with your friends or family or anybody that wants to play, they'll be able to stop by and have fun when they have time. So this is an incredible feature. And when we found out this, a lot of people's opinions started shifting on what this game could be and how it's going to be. So I think that now if you're looking at the cloud persistent type of thing, you look at some of the online features and how this game is being pushed, you start understanding some of the design decisions that they have for this title, all running at a smooth 60 frames per second, as well as noted in the previews. Now, I did want to go over a number of other things with the development of this game. Then we're going to get into some of the other stuff that's happening, why I do think that there's going to be a lot of people picking this one up. So according to Famitsu, who interviewed the developers, they stated that the development started roughly when the work on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was finished. A small team of about only 3 people began prototyping it. Now, roughly 6 months later, the devs shared their idea with the Pokemon Company. The team prepared a concept video to push the idea, and that same video was used later in a Nintendo Direct. The dev team had philosophical discussions about how the relationship of trust with Pokemon is fostered. Ditto was chosen as the main character since Pokemon aren't very good at using tools, but with Ditto transforming into a human, the issue would be solved. More Omega Force people worked on this title than any other in their history. Every element of the game was created together with Game Freak and the Pokemon Company. Now, localization presented some interesting challenges, including the unique way Pokemon speak to one another. The art director and sound director shared a common phrase early in development: chill and pop. Music was made considering 2 themes: creation and transformation, and reconstruction and recovery. When it comes to building, you can have Pokemon build a building over time, or you can stack the blocks yourself. So this game has a lot of fluidity in terms of how you want to play, how you want to build, what you want the Pokemon to do, how to capture new Pokemon or find new Pokemon, habitats to build, places to go, multiplayer. It seems very fluid and very, I would just say, approachable with its design. And once again, this can be absolutely massive. I know it doesn't look that way because of the graphics and things like that, but I'm telling you, it has been 6 years now since Animal Crossing New Horizons took the world by storm in the COVID era. And a lot of those people that were like, let's just say young teenagers or mid-20s, now at this point they're older, and they are looking for something to kind of give them that same feel, that same vibe. And you have two of the biggest franchises here coming together. Now, I think that the new additions to the game are going to be absolutely key. These are the things that are the driving force behind people really excited and wanting this. Now, the gameplay previews were out, and I covered it a bit with Switch Up and a couple other different outlets, but man, it was refreshing at least to see so many people saying this game was fun. I didn't have much time to play it, but it's really fun. And even seeing people starting to get some of the preview stuff, people getting hype about the fact that you can create different houses and then you can invite Pokemon to live with you in those houses for cool photo op opportunities. So these are all the little things that this game is doing to really draw in that different cozy type audience, which there is a huge audience for that. So there's a lot of cool additions in this game when it comes to how they build and what the Pokemon do and what features you have multiplayer wise, single player wise, online, cloud persistent type of stuff. That's all great. A lot of gamers hype too, but I think that the biggest thing here, kind of outside of just the game itself, but other factors, are the situation that's going on with the RAM. A lot of gamers are hearing now, because most people don't have a Nintendo Switch 2 despite it selling so well. There's still a ton of Switch 1 owners who don't currently have a Switch 2 and are waiting for that big 3D Mario or that big Zelda game or something else to kind of come along that sparks their interest. One of the biggest games that I wouldn't say was overlooked on the Nintendo Switch 1, but sometimes people don't mention as a huge system seller, is Animal Crossing. We know that Pokemon is. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Pokemon Sword and Shield. These are some of the best selling games on the Nintendo Switch 1, and Pokemon sells massive, so everybody knows that. But Animal Crossing sold over 49 million units, and the game came out just in 2020. So it is huge. The RAM situation and people hearing about the potential of a price increase later absolutely has people thinking, okay, well, maybe I should pick up this now, because a lot of these people that have played Pokemon and that have played Animal Crossing do not have a Nintendo Switch 2 right now. So I do think that that situation is causing people to evaluate, maybe I should buy it now at this point for this game. And once again, you have these two massive franchises. This cannot be understated how important it is, because Animal Crossing has always been, at least for the last number of generations for Nintendo, a system seller type of game. It just wasn't until the Nintendo Switch 1 that it became like an Omega system seller type of game. So Animal Crossing and Pokemon, which has always been that, tapping into those two fan bases in order to create a cozy type of game that could do crazy numbers. I mean, that is genius in the way that they actually planned this. And now it's looking more and more like that this game is going to blow up in some type of popularity, especially if the reviews also fit some of the pre-hype here. I think that reviews, it's interesting how people look at these games, but if you look at some of the big Animal Crossing games, for example, those usually review pretty well. And because they're doing something different with this, I think it can benefit from the Pokemon name in addition to having the Animal Crossing style experience. But Pokemon gives you so many different types of possibilities for gameplay because of the abilities that Pokemon have. You have Scyther that can cut, or you have Squirtle that has water, or Charmander with fire, and you can use those elements to create new gameplay scenarios that you couldn't quite do in Animal Crossing. And that's why I think that this could be a secret system, or more like a big system seller that people did not expect with the Nintendo Switch 2. Back when we were looking at the lineup for 2026, I think a lot of people were thinking, okay, let's see how the Dusk Bloods turns out. Or is that going to get the From Software fans over? Or what's going to happen with Splatoon Raiders? How's that game going to do? But I think really this was the game that might be the biggest system seller out of all the games that we do know about right now on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, here's the thing, kind of getting into a little bit of a separate type of section here. We still have a Nintendo Direct coming up. Now, I don't know when that Nintendo Direct is coming up, but if you look at a number of different games that have no release dates, and that's Nintendo first-party published games at least, games like the Dusk Bloods, no release date for that game. Splatoon Raiders, no release date for that game. Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, no release date for that game. And Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, no release date for that game. Also, Switch 1 game, Rhythm Heaven, no release date for that game either. So there are quite a number of games that do not have release dates. So what I'm thinking is that Nintendo's trying to get through the games that do have release dates all the way through March or so. And maybe in that time period, March or April, they have another Nintendo Direct. And that's where they have the big one that has first-party games and third-party games. Kadakawa already talked about how the Dusk Bloods and Elden Ring Tarnished Edition are still set to go on the Nintendo Switch 2 this year in 2026, so I do expect those games to be detailed at the next Nintendo Direct and looking a lot better, at least from the Elden Ring side. That should be running and looking significantly better on the Nintendo Switch 2 once we see that game again, because they don't want that game, Elden Ring, a game that was associated with so many Game of the Year and one of the best games of all time. They don't want that game coming out on the Nintendo Switch 2 and looking and running terrible. So I think they're taking their time and they're making sure that the next time that we see it, it is in tip-top shape, at least for what From Software can do with that engine on the Nintendo Switch 2, playing in portable and docked mode. So if you look at the year so far, it's starting to take shape with what we got with Mario Tennis Fever. People are playing that, kind of getting a bit more into it and seeing the depth and the mechanics for online multiplayer. And then now we have Pokemon Pokopia, which is coming through with a lot of different details, and people are getting excited about that. And I think that's going to lead right into the Nintendo Direct and then the rest of the games for the year. And that's not even including Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, which that's already been dated for April 16th or so. So I do think that, yeah, it's just kind of all falling into place. I think the Nintendo Direct is going to come through at some point. We get some more release dates. We get a big reveal for fall of 2026. And we still have Pokemon Day as well, which they could talk more about Pokemon Pokopia. We could get a brand new trailer. I'd actually bank on us getting a brand new trailer, more details, more information about Pokemon Pokopia. So I think that Pokemon Pokopia adds a lot of anticipation to the Pokemon lineup for 2026. Pokemon Day is coming up on February 27th, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be another trailer detailing more information and stuff like that. I think it's going to be awesome. But also Gen 10 Pokemon. This could be the best lineup based off of some of the leaks that we have heard about with Pokemon Generation 10, that this could be one of the better 1-2 punches for Pokemon. We've had that before in the past with multiple Pokemon games in 1 year, and while it's been okay, there's been a little bit of a lack when it comes to some of the aspects that people have wanted for the big generation Pokemon games like Sword and Shield or Scarlet and Violet, the situation that happened at the launch of the Nintendo Switch 1. It's much better now on the Nintendo Switch 2. It's fixed up, but the launch of it. So if we have Pokemon Pokopia, 60 frames per second, the Cloud Island features, a bunch of cool stuff that people are really enjoying. Some are even calling it the best Pokemon spinoff of all time already. It's not even out yet. Now we have to wait and see how it actually works out with the reviews and the gamers' hands at the end of the day when people actually get a chance to play it. But that's high praise and definitely something good at this point. So if it ultimately ends up being one of the better or best Pokemon spinoff games, and then on top of that, we get Pokemon Gen 10 revealed on Pokemon Day, I mean, that is going to be a nice 1-2 punch for Pokemon. On top of all the other festivities, I'm pretty sure they're going to have different mobile stuff, and they're going to have different merchandising, and there's going to be anime stuff and all the things that they normally do for Pokemon Day. But this could be one of the more exciting ones just because of the new system with the Nintendo Switch 2, creating possibilities that you probably wouldn't have been able to get on the Nintendo Switch 1, considering Game Freak and how they've been developing on that system and the type of overhead that the Nintendo Switch 2 gives. I do think that you can do a bit more with less, and I think ultimately that could be beneficial to the gamers out there that are looking to get into Pokemon in this type of way. So I'm very excited to see how Pokemon Pokopia shapes up with the reviews and just the broad range of gameplay that they've shown off here. I think my most exciting feature for this game out of everything that I've looked at so far is definitely the multiplayer and how the Pokemon interact with the environments. The cloud or persistent online, to me, I don't have as much time to play games with my friends online, so being able to just go in and kind of get stuff done and then go out whenever I can, that's actually really appealing to me. And then of course just the variety of different Pokemon that you can use in order to manipulate and in order to build and have these different tasks that you can do. That to me is also very exciting because it makes it more dynamic in my opinion. So this could be one of the better years for Pokemon. I'm definitely crossing my fingers. I'm hoping that everything works out good with Pokopia. And of course, Pokemon Gen 10 Pokemon Day coming up here. Going to be one of the more anticipated shows based off of everything that we're getting so far. So what do you guys think when it comes to Pokemon Pokopia and the early impressions and some of these new features? In addition to, what are your thoughts on Pokemon Gen 10 and what is happening 2026 for the Nintendo Switch 2? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, peeps, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos as soon as they drop. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.